Well, I would say that it has been a real journey to get to where I am now. I haven't done any videos in a while, which is typical of me. But I work full time, and this is the sort of thing I do. I will say to start this off, I am very happy and lucky to have found two of these Philips amplifiers, which are they look amazing with the just as amazing with the covers off as they do with the covers on. And this was the first one that I got, which I have never had it really working all that well, and overlooked quite a few weird problems in my early days of doing service on this sort of stuff. But I'd say now that it is pretty much near to 100% of what I want it to be. And all thanks to me finding another one, almost identical. And yeah, so this video is just going to be me showing a bit of what I have been, like some of the stuff I have been working on the last while. And I am working on building a workshop in my parents' backyard right now, so I can do more woodworking and just try to stay more organized with this stuff. Anyways, we got I got these hooked up to a pair of speakers. I'll get into more detail on them maybe later on. I don't want to, make this a long video. So, we got a ProAC studio monitors, which are, I'm going to take the cover off. They do not have the original tweeters. This is the sort of thing I do. I repurpose equipment where you may not be able to get the original parts for. So these have, I think these are Dayton Audio tweeters, and the originals I couldn't get, so I just found the closest match I could, and they actually are, they sound pretty good. And they got the same material dome, I think it's like titanium dome or something. And of course, see, these are round, and that was a square cutout, so all I did is I took some that's walnut, yeah, that's what that is, yeah, and made little pieces to fit in there, and eventually I'll probably get these a little better. And then of course they were also have been refoamed as well. The refoaming job on this one did not turn out the cleanest, but it doesn't scratch, it's centered, so it's all good. This is a Cambridge Audio DAC Magic 100. The DAC had some issues. It had issues with the connector on the control board. It was making intermittent connections. So what I did is I just soldered wire directly to it, and then I decided to, since I didn't have a power supply, I put it all into an enclosure with its own power. Yeah, and then over here I got a Carver receiver, which is my uncle's, that I'm working on rebuilding. It's had dirty switches. The tape monitor switches were so dirty that sometimes they'd work, sometimes they wouldn't. It would drive you nuts. And that's what happens with a lot of this sort of equipment, is the switches get dirty, and contact cleaner only works temporarily, I find, these days. You just can't get good contact cleaner anymore. Deoxit is probably about the best you can get, but even it is, nothing beats taking the switches apart and physically polishing them, I find. But it's a big job. Oh yeah, and then we got a dual turntable here. 1214. That was another job too. Completely seized up. Had to unseize everything on it. So everything's nice and free, and Sanyo 2050 receiver with some funky LED job in it that I did. And over here, this is pretty much done now, but Bryston, yeah, wow. Get my head all mixed up with brand names. It's Bryston 2B, and this has been rebuilt once again. It was in pretty rough shape. Those are not the original driver transistors. There's been some modifying done to get some newer parts to work in it. And of course the bias pots have been changed too. And it's all recapped. That's pretty much good to go. I gotta put the screws in it. Alright, now that I took the Bryston off, we got something funky in here. What a mess. It's just a terrible mess. Yeah, loose tubes. Oh, what's this? Oh, a busted tube, which has been sitting busted for a very long time. I got the speakers. This is basically just gonna be, this is from a Philips console. And probably about the same vintage actually as those two amplifiers, I'd say. Cause the yeah, look, you got Philips Mini Watt. He's at 80s. That's EL84. This is basically parts. I dragged it home from my work. It was written off because it has this is the output transformer here. It's in a can, and it's basically dropped its guts out. This is tar. This was molten tar, and half the transformer is open. So it had I'd say based on this tube sitting in here, it had a catastrophic accident. So I might be doing a video on this later on, just to show like scrapping like old consoles like this, you know, just, you know, what's useful from them. Obviously the tubes could be, and this power transformer, if it's any good, would be useful as well to hold on to. But obviously, besides being useful for parts, it's like you could restore this maybe, but without like getting a output transformer, you'd have to restuff this can to make it look original, like, and it's so dirty, like it's just not worth it, honestly. I think we quoted, like, we didn't even give the person a quote, we just told them it was a write-off, and they decided, since they lived out of town, they didn't even want to come pick it up, which I don't blame them, because this is pretty much garbage otherwise. Then these guys here, we're gonna fire these up. Start with this guy here, and I have see, this one doesn't flash, it's supposed to. Look at those switches, man, they just and these things are monsters. Now I have a warm-up circuit in there to for the high voltage, a high voltage delay. That one's on. Boom, you can hear the power kick in. It's pretty quiet. Look at that. All these things are running so much power. It's scary how much power these guys run. These are meant for PA systems as well.
Don't try to make
So yeah, that's of course the laptop is controlling the volume through the DAC here, and none of these controls do anything because I have it bypassed to go straight to the power amp section.